Capital Sports Audio, New York edition. I'm Dave Ferry, and with me is CSA New York reporter Mike Mancuso. And Mike, obviously, the number one topic in the area has to be the Knicks. Just what kind of fervor is going on in the area?
Any crazy fervor that you could imagine, Dave. I mean, the town is locked in. It certainly helped that the Mets weren't playing well as just a few weeks ago. They maybe picked it up a little this week, but certainly Nick Mania has taken over. It's all over the news. It's all over the streets of Manhattan, especially, but tons of coverage in the local press. And it is a big story, and rightfully so. I mean, this franchise hasn't won since '73 when you and I were pups. And they haven't been to the finals since '99 against the same Spurs. So, looking forward to it. It should be a great series. And I think the Knicks have an excellent chance to win.
Uh, is it safe to say that if the Knicks win this title, the MVP has already been decided for this postseason?
I think that Carl Anthony Towns or OG Anunoby would have to do something like walk on water for them to get the MVP. Because if they do win, it's going to Brunson, no question.
He has been the linchpin. He's just been so much fun to watch. And Walt Frazier, right after they swept the Cavaliers, he says these current Knicks are as unselfish as the two championship teams from 1970 and 73. I don't think that's hyperbole either.
No, I agree. I do think that they adapted in the early rounds of the playoffs when they took the ball out of Brunson's hands and started having at least a good portion of the offense go through Carl Anthony Towns. What was happening was defenses were running at Brunson, forcing him to make an early decision. But Mike Brown got together with his offensive coordinators, one of them, Chris Gent, formerly of Ohio State, and they really wanted to focus on getting the ball into Towns and having him facilitate as the point forward. And it's worked. It's gotten the ball out of Brunson's hands earlier. It's enabled Brunson to fight off screens and get open and then create again. Or it's enabled Towns to go to the basket himself. And Towns is an excellent passer too. So
Yeah.
it's just worked. Now, will they try to front Towns in this series? Is Wembanyama capable of doing that on a long-term basis? I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see. And I know the Knicks will game plan for it.
One good thing about the team right now going into the series is that they are relatively healthy, with the exception of Mitchell Robinson, who has the busted pinky. But as you and I both know, that's not going to affect his free throw shooting, but it might affect his rebounding.
It might help his free throw shooting, but yeah, you know what? I think they'll numb him up. They'll tape it up, and I really don't anticipate that in the 18 or 20 minutes a game that he's been playing, it's going to really influence. I think he's going to attack. And 2 minutes into the game, I would suspect that he won't even realize that he's got a busted pinky. I mean, he also blocks shots with both hands, so he's not predominant one way or another. He still is a monster on the offensive glass. You have to put a body on him. He might not grab as many as he did in previous series, but he's still going to be a beast and someone that they're going to have to deal with.
And going from Manhattan to the Bronx, let's talk Yankee baseball. After a great start, they've slipped into second in the AL East, and they've been as many as what, four and a half games out. I look at the Rays lineup and I can't believe that they topped the division. Any reason for the Yankees to panic at all, do you think?
No, no, not at all. And I wouldn't. I mean, they're a game with, pending today's numbers, they're a game and a half out right now. Tampa's playing out of their minds. The Yankees have been on a great run. Their pitching staff now, is just off the charts with what they can do. There's no panic. They don't panic. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have a top seed. Tampa's not going to play this way the whole season. You know, Judge and Rice. I mean, they didn't even have Stanton back yet. There's no concern about the Yankees at all. I think they're running on all cylinders, and Volpe had a good West Coast trip this week. So, if they're going to start getting it out of shortstop, where they had struggled with Volpe, I mean, yeah, I think they're fine.
My
They
only
might need a reliever, and I think Cashman will advise that. But they're starting pitching so good that if you're getting 6 or 7 innings out of your starting pitching and you use your bullpen less, you know, then you don't need as many arms down there. So I think Cashman will make a move. He always has, and I'm the Yankees. I'm not worried.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm a little worried still about the bullpen. The saving grace, as you mentioned, is the Yankee starters go pretty deep into ball games, despite the fact that three-fifths of the staff is coming off of an injury.
Right.
It's pretty incredible. But the bullpen, like for instance, today the 13-8 win um, over the
A's.
A's. Warren pitched really well, 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, all unearned, left with a 10-run lead, and the bullpen, it seemed like it was doing its level best to just give it right back.
Right. And Jeff McNeil was a guy that struck out in a key spot as I was driving home from the Mets game. I heard that today. But uh yeah, you know what? They're gonna add an arm and they might, wind up getting one of the starters doing some relief work too, once they get everyone back to full health. So I anticipate that the Yankees are gonna be, I put it this way, I would rather be the Yankees than Tampa Bay right now.
Yeah, I think so. I, I, I'd be worried if I'm the rest of the American League.
Yes.
I still have to figure by the All-Star break, as good as Tampa Bay's pitching has been, and how they continue to get timely hits. I see the Yankees having maybe a 4 or 5 game lead by the All-Star break, but anything can happen. And speaking
Yeah,
of
and as
anything,
long
sorry.
No, I was gonna say as long as the American League Central's around, even though Cleveland's playing well, you
Well,
know,
I mean,
they're never going to beat the East.
well, and the West is a horror show.
Right? Seattle's the only team over 500, and that's who the Mets go visit this week. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. Speaking of the Mets, they just completed a 3-game sweep over the same Marlins team that swept them in Miami last weekend. I know 3 games is a small sample size, but do you think this team can actually get back into contention?
Listen, I'm a Mets fan. I grew up a Mets fan. I thought they had a terrible winter as far as the moves that they made. Um, and I still have to be shown that they could compete and be a 500 team. Having said that, they have gotten play. Now Soto's been great. I mean, Grand Slam homer today. He's, ridiculously great. And but he was by himself for a long time. They have brought up a couple of kids. Well, actually, Carson Benz has been with them since opening day, and they've allowed him to play through slumps. Now they bring up this kid AJ Ewing, and all of a sudden the two of them are playing center and right field, like Dykstra and Mookie Wilson did when they played left and center, as part of the platoon in '86. Or, yeah, Ewing is still only 20 games into his career and he's still batting under 250, but he creates so much energy. And between the two of them, they've really catapulted the team up. All of a sudden, Marcus Simeon is starting to hit a little bit. Still don't trust Vientos. Don't trust Beatty. Don't think Simeon is in it for the long term. Their pitching staff is in shambles. They really have three starting pitchers right now. So, can they make a run? Can they get a break? Let's see where they are after this road trip. They have to play Seattle and San Diego. And remember, every team, no matter how bad you are, you're going to win 50 to 55 games. So, you know, I can have a better conversation with you after next week. Let's see how they survive this West Coast trip
If
because
you
the
had told me
key
the
part of their
start of the
schedule's over.
season if you had told me the start of the season that the bullpen would be one of the bright spots so far this year, I would have told you were crazy. But they're getting some really good innings. I just don't know, if they're going to last. It could be another meltdown like last season because the starters aren't going deep. Even
Right.
Peralta's a 5-inning guy now.
Right.
Mania, we haven't seen him go five this season. Peterson, I don't know what the heck's happened to him. McLean looked really good on Sunday. He had a nice outing where he teamed up with Peterson to throw a 3-hitter. So and Christian Scott finally got his first win. So maybe things are coming around. And who knows about Senga?
Yeah, no, but here's the thing that with the Mets starters, it's the opposite of the Yankee starters. The Mets bullpen has been terrific. I mean, they got AJ Minter back. Brooks Raley's been good. Weaver has been decent. Devin Williams has been okay. Uh, you know, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Brazoban has been really good, but the problem is where the Yankee starters are going 6 and maybe 7, the Mets starters are going 4 and 5. So no matter how strong the Mets relief corps is, if you're asking them for 5 or 6 innings sometimes every night, you're still going to have to use some low leverage guys, and that soft underbelly is where the Mets have a problem. So need to get more length out of the starters. McLean pitched 5 today and he struggled through 5, but he was able, and he spoke after the game of trying to be too fine, trying to hit his spots, doesn't want to walk anybody. He's setting up in his mind, I can let this guy go and I'll get the next guy. Maybe a little too cocky, but I guess that's the mentality that you want to have. So, right now it's McLean. As you mentioned, Peralta has not lived up to expectations. Scott had a good start yesterday, but they're doing another bullpen game tomorrow. By the way, Austin Warren has been terrific out of the pen too.
Oh,
Failed to mention him earlier, and he's going to get the start
fantastic. I
tomorrow.
mean, all the ex-Yankees that they got have done a pretty decent job. And honestly, Williams' ERA would be a lot better. He had two meltdowns. Otherwise, that ERA is around 3.5.
Well, again, it's sometimes you can't judge a relief pitcher on the ERA,
You
but
can't.
Uh, you know, again, lots of question marks. They are what their record says they are. And the last 4 weeks, they have played Tigers, Twins, Marlins. Their competition's going to step up now.
Yeah.
All right, Seattle's playing better. The Padres, you know, they're always tough against the Mets, especially in San Diego when the Mets don't have Bartolo Colon anymore to hit home runs like he did. You know, and then they come home to play St. Louis and Atlanta. So
Yeah.
then their next four opponents will tell a lot, and you know, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens, but right now, still not exactly sure where they sit after what I deemed to be a really not a productive offseason.
Well, we'll see what happens. We've got a week to figure out if they can right themselves a little bit. And what is this? The Mets' fourth West Coast trip of the season already?
Insane.
It really
Uh,
is. It really
but
is.
they don't have to go back out there after this. Most all their, I think the furthest west they have to go is maybe the middle of the country. So
Yeah.
they might get a little break there. But keep an eye on Benj and keep an eye on Ewing because I think that these guys are going to make an impact. Um,
Well, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, I see Dykstra all over Ewing. I mean, almost the same physique, 5'10" and 160. Both of them will crash through walls. Both of them get on base. Um, yeah, yeah, the batting average isn't fantastic, but the OBP has been nice.
Right, and he does take too many. I know they'll work with him, and he's for whatever reason the Mets are also running into a bunch of left-handed starters lately, and it just seems like teams are loading up on relief pitches from the left side against the Mets, and he's going to have to get used to if he's going to be an everyday player, he's going to have to face lefties,
Yeah.
and he's been hanging in. But the strikeouts are a little up, and these are all growing pains. The kids played 20 games in the majors, and you saw Benj he was batting 150 through the middle of May. He's
Hmm.
finally gotten his batting average up. So if they're committed to these guys, all right, then I'm going to give Stearns a tiny bit of credit. If you felt that Nimmo was blocking the path of some of your young outfielders, then that justifies to some extent moving him. Who you moved them for, despite how Simeon played today, was still a mistake.
Yeah.
But that's you added a guy you talked about, speed and becoming better defensively. Simeon's best days at second base are behind him, although he's still decent. He's still almost 4 years older than Nimmo, and his annual average salary is the same as Nimmo, if not
Hmm.
more. So that move made no sense. Plus, keep in mind that AJ Ewing's initial position was shortstop, second base. So
Right.
he's playing the outfield as a secondary position, and he's kicking butt out there. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And let's get back in a week. I guess our topics will be the first two games of the NBA Finals. plus anything going on with the Yankees and Mets, and the upcoming NHL draft. Lord knows that the Rangers and Devils and Islanders all need some help. So
Yeah, they all will.
they
Uh,
they will. All right, so let's pick this up in a week. For Mike Mancuso, I'm Dave Ferry, Capital Sports Audio.